Happy Sunday, friends. I hope you guys are doing well. I will wait for Instagram to tap us in and to let me know that you guys, or that we're live. All right. I hope you guys had a good trading week and that you guys were able to make money in these markets. We had most of our systematic trades as normal. They went off without a hitch. We did have one midday iron butterfly that went a little bit left on us. We did end up taking a small loss at the end of the day, but it's one of those things. You win, you have a long winning streak, so you have to take a few losses every once in a while. I don't know what's going on with Instagram. Seems to be taking a second to tap us in, but when you join, let us know where you guys are tapping in from. It's always nice to see where you guys are based and what you guys are looking at in the markets. If you are trading this week, let us know what you are trading. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying his charting. Yes, his charts are phenomenal. And here is my guest for the evening. Instagram just wants to be funny today. Usually it's like straight away that, let's see, I tried a different way. We have Florida in the house. Anybody else? Where are y'all from? Oh, it seems to have knocked Derek off. Not sure why. Let's try this again. All right. Seems to have potentially worked this time. Let's see. Oh, Derek, if you can hear me, it's saying that you're unable to join for some reason. So we try again. It's showing you as being online. So hello,
Yeah, I
hello,
feel you.
hello.
What is
Sorry.
up?
How are
You
you?
good? You good? Well,
I'm very
Yep.
good. I've been reading through your AI report,
Oh yeah.
and yes, and I have to say it is top notch for everyone that has not. So, if you are already in Derek's Patreon, you get access to the AI report, and this is
Yeah,
the fourth
that's true.
one in the series.
Yep, that's true.
But you can get the AI report on its own as well if you prefer.
Yeah, extended version. That one's I'll explain it. Like Sue said, it's if you join my Patreon Stock Options Club, it's free. But if you want an extended version with me explaining it, it's $100. So, and I tell people this: if you're somebody that's very like smart, technical with AI, you're good. But if you kind of need an explainer, it's a video in there. It's a Zoom video in there with me explaining it. And I probably had like 10 people who were like, you know what, I'm busy, I don't have the time. Can you explain all of this stuff? Because it's pretty deep. I mean, I think on my part, like I'm pretty sure you were like reading it like, what the hell is this? This is like
No, no.
different.
It's great. It's such a wide
Uh,
overview. It talks
uh,
about so many different aspects of the AI revolution for
yeah.
those who are trying to think
Hmm.
about, different types of stocks
Yeah.
that may be well positioned for what's coming next in the future. It's a great explainer. And
Yep.
so I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
read. And
Thank you.
and the good thing is that it really resonated with all of our previous lives. So I
Hmm.
was like, okay, this is great because it just demonstrates that the
Yeah.
knowledge is not coming out of nowhere. It is really a
Uh-huh.
culmination of years of experience and
Yeah. Yeah.
conversation. So
yeah,
I liked it.
yeah, yeah. And thank you. And you know, the best part that I heard from people about it, Suze, was that
Mm-hmm.
they liked how I kind of like told a story before I just jumped into making money. That part. Now
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you noticed that like it felt more like a journey, and
Mm-hmm.
then we kind of got to the money, and I purposely did that on purpose. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want it to feel like I don't know what's the word for. I didn't kind of want to feel like could I have easily made it to where we jumped into okay, buy Nvidia, buy you know this company, that company. I easily could have done it, but you notice how I started off with the Manhattan Project, which was back in the what was that, like the '60s,
Mm-hmm.
before when nuclear energy was a big thing with the making of the atomic bombs. So
Mm-hmm.
if you notice, I kind of made it and scaled it into like, okay, this is a story and like almost like a build up.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, it
you
was
know?
real. It reminded me of one of your documentaries, the way you started. But
Yeah,
for
yeah.
people like someone who maybe is not always reading like
Hmm.
raw materials, if you're not the kind of
Yeah,
person that's like, let me read all the, what do you call it, the SEC filings of
yeah,
different
right,
conversations.
right.
Exactly,
Yeah,
you're a storyteller,
yeah,
and it makes the read really, really smooth. I
yeah.
mean, so if you
Okay,
haven't
thank you.
gotten it, get
Yeah.
access to it. And it does resonate as well with how, so for those who don't, for those who aren't in Derek's stock club,
Hmm.
he often does these kind of deep dives on companies that
Hmm.
he's looking at
Yeah.
investing in or scaling into
Hmm.
or holding over the long run.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And he comes at it from this kind of storytelling point of
yeah,
view, which is great. I think it makes it
yeah.
very accessible to people. So,
Yeah, and that's one thing, and for those of you who are not familiar with me, my background is nuclear energy. So I went to school for nuclear energy, reactive theory, and operations, but I have backgrounds in maintenance. So I understand the energy department very well. But then also too, I understand history too. So I have
hmm
a broad background when it comes to history. I think that gives me an edge as an investor. And I tell everybody that, like, if you understand history, you can put things together. And you know this. This is all like this ain't nothing new to you. I mean, I know you're kind of like the same, type of beast. Where if you go back and look at history, you can draw comparisons. And although the pieces of the puzzle don't always fit. The characters change, the story's similar.
hmm It's like history
Throughout
doesn't
history.
repeat,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
rhymes.
Rhymes. Yeah. So
You are getting some amazing comments. Look, Tracy Sin is in
okay.
here giving you Derek is a visionary, and she is
Oh yeah, that's
absolutely
dope.
correct.
Yeah,
But that is high praise because she does not
yeah,
give praise to everyone. So
yeah,
you know you have deserved
yeah,
your accolades. So
yeah, yeah,
10
yeah.
high fives for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I appreciate that, and that's the thing too. We're all peers in here, and so when you hear from other people that read it, that kind of hits a little different. Like when I hear you say, you like it, rather than somebody that's new, not taking anything away from somebody else, but like that's high praise, and that's when I create these type of reports. It's always that it's always with that in mind. I think of like people like you. I think of people like Sin, that who understand things a little deeper. So those are like my target audience, and I feel like if I target people like that, and then I make it easily understandable, I win in the end.
Mhm.
So
And you do, you
and
make the information
yeah,
very, very accessible.
yep,
Um, I want to give you an opportunity to
hmm,
share, like, if there's a section that really, that when you
hmm,
were writing it, that kind
hmm,
of just, you were like, even for you was kind of a surprise or like, oh, that's actually
right,
much more
right.
interesting than I originally had expected. Um, what section would that be
Uh,
in your paper? I mean,
you know
you
what?
can't say all of it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a lot, but honestly, it might surprise you. And I'm looking at it kind of. It might surprise you. It was the energy part with China being that surprised me. That
China
surprised
being
me.
number one.
China being number one. I don't know if you got to that part, but it's talking about like, the comparison to how much energy China creates versus the US, and China dominates by a lot. It's 9,460 terawatt hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And that's 31%, 31.6% of global output. So what that means for you people not familiar, China is puts out 31% of the world's electricity or energy. That's crazy. That means solar, nuclear, wind, hydro, like all of it. That is crazy. So for those of you wondering why that might be an issue, some of you are probably like, why is that so huge? Or why is that a big thing? It's because if we're gonna win this AI revolution, USA
Mm-hmm.
speaking, I know some of you guys are over in other parts. It's you got to win the energy battle, okay? And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that China has an advantage over because China isn't regulated like the US is. China doesn't care about pollution. They don't care about a lot of things, okay? I'm just
Yep.
saying, just being honest. So Trump has come in, like him, love him, or hate him. Okay, Trump is kind. He understands it, and I'll give Trump credit because a lot of people don't give Trump credit. Trump has opened the doors to energy deregulation. He
Mm-hmm.
has, and for a minute there, for 4 years with Biden's administration, we were in this green energy phase where it was just like, okay, we're gonna go heavy on green energy. It's not enough solar power in this, country for us to catch up with China. Okay, did you
Mm-hmm.
guys hear me? 9,460 terawatt hours.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then United States, we're the second closest. It's 4,490. So yeah, they're double us and some.
Yeah.
So we got
You
15%.
know,
They got 31%.
when I was reading that, the only reason that I would say that I wasn't surprised
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
about that. I mean, not that I knew the numbers like exactly, but I wasn't surprised
Yeah.
because, as I've shared before, my dad was
Mhm.
a
Yeah. Yeah. You were talking
geophysicist
about.
at ConocoPhillips, and
Yep.
the where we lived in Houston, like literally all the deacons of my
Mhm.
church were like at all the major oil companies
Yeah.
and the heads of like
Mhm.
um, so the University of Houston, they have one of the largest,
Mhm.
geophysical engineering, and Texas A&M, all the different kinds
Mhm.
of petroleum engineering, drilling
Right.
engineering, everything
Yep.
relating to the oil industry.
Mhm.
But there was like one time that we were at a meeting and the gentlemen were talking about the fact that like China was pumping out like 90% of the world's like oil, anything relating to oil, gas, energy, like 90% of them were all coming out of
Yeah.
China. And that American universities just
Mhm.
weren't even keeping up because
Yeah.
they didn't have enough interest. They didn't have enough
Uh-huh.
like scholarships for students
Uh-huh.
who wanted to study, that there weren't
Mhm.
enough opportunities, that the universities weren't expanding
Right.
fast enough, they weren't getting enough funding. And China was just like, all in. And I guess that's one of the benefits of having, a communist style government
Yeah.
is that everybody is like singing from the same hymn
Mhm.
book of we want to be the most powerful. But when you
Right.
hear it like that, the United States was such a leader in producing the top energy thinkers, but then they just fell so far behind. And that conversation was like 4 or 5 years ago. It wasn't like
Yeah.
recently. So I mean, so I'm not really surprised where they have gotten ahead in a lot of ways because the amount of
Mhm.
just money and opportunity they're
Yeah.
pumping into their citizens
Yeah.
was really something phenomenal. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I wasn't surprised when I read that, but I didn't know the numbers were so dramatic.
That and I seen one of the comments in there from a good friend Derek. He was saying, "What you're shocked? They always mess with me because like I'm a data guy." It wasn't so much that I was shocked China was leading. It was that it was double, 15% of the global output on energy. That shocked me that they were 31% and US was 15%. That kind of triggered a like, whoa, a whoa moment where like, okay, okay, got to get serious about this. US has to get serious because you're going to need energy for data centers if you
Mm-hmm.
want to win this AI race. And this is such a huge moment in history. And the reason I say it's huge is because whoever owns, uh, actually, it was Putin who said this. Whoever wins the AI race is going to own the future, and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's true. That's why it's so huge, and people might not want to hear this, because they get their political biases involved. I do believe after creating this report, and I worked on this for 4 years, you guys. This ain't something that I just came up with. 4 years. I do think Trump is probably the best president for this revolution. Politics
Mm-hmm.
aside, all that other stuff aside.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is because Biden's administration regulated a lot. Will, is it some harm that will come with it? I seen somebody in there talking about climate change. Yeah, I get that. But will climate change even matter if, let's say, some other country wanted to invade, U.S. and take over, or take over other countries, UK, or other continents, Africa? It would Climate change wouldn't even matter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if we didn't win, if you look back through history and you look at the Manhattan Project, for those of you not familiar, the Manhattan Project was when atomic energy, they were trying to figure out how to split, an atom, with fission. Okay. If that didn't happen and US didn't win that, it's very possible everybody in US could be speaking German. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. That's how big it could have been. Okay. So
German's
so
not that bad.
yeah, yeah. So, and
Well, it would have been back then. It was not
yeah,
just the German, it
yeah.
was it was the
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah,
government. Yeah, I was
yeah.
just
So
teasing.
yeah, yeah. So so history has a weird way of, coming back. So it's interesting. While I was building that over the last 4 years, all I could think was, "Wow, this just feels very familiar to the Manhattan Project." That's all I
Hmm.
kept thinking as I was making it. Like, wow, it was like it literally felt like I was making something from the past. More. And then the Oppenheimer movie came out. I don't know if any of you seen that. It's one of the best movies
Such a
ever
good
to me.
movie.
I love what's his name, Christopher Nolan. Yeah, yeah, Christopher Nolan. Yeah, he's such a good director. And the guy who played
The guy from
Oppenheimer,
Peaky Blinders.
yeah, he's amazing. I forgot his name too. Somebody,
Yeah,
I'm
same
sure
here. But
somebody.
he's the same guy from Peaky Blinders. That's what I
Yeah,
kept
somebody
thinking
said
every
that.
time.
Yeah, I've never seen that show or movie or whatever it is. I just know him from actually Batman. He was like
Yes,
Scarecrow. He was Scarecrow,
yes.
which is kind of odd because that was a
He
Christopher
always
Nolan movie.
he always plays
Yeah,
odd characters. Um, but like, but he's
yeah.
such a good actor with such
Uh-huh.
so much range that you enjoy the quality. So it's funny because in our probably our second live together, both of us talked a lot
Yeah,
about
Cillian
C.
Murphy. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Um, we talked a lot about CEG. We talked a lot about
Uh-huh.
VST. We talked a lot about NRG,
Yes.
and as like
Man.
really main energy companies. Then in another live that I did after we chatted, I did mention that with the AI revolution coming, I really thought that the different royalty trusts were going to really start doing
Hmm.
well, just because the change of policy with Trump and
Hmm.
the fact that they pay really strong dividends, they're kind of great stocks to hold. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I don't always look at them, like day in and day out.
Hmm.
I've just kind of had them forever. But they're up like 100% since that live, and
That's
I'm
funny.
like, my goodness, these things are just running. And
Uh-huh. Yeah.
um, so I was looking up, some of the company, like maybe some of the less known companies or companies that maybe I
Hmm.
haven't talked about as much, energy companies that I really think will
Hmm.
benefit from
Hmm.
just the energy kind of suck. And some companies that I really like that actually haven't performed as well, like
Hmm.
Devon Energy, that wasn't
Yeah.
doing, that suffered
Hmm.
a bit.
Hmm.
Um, in this last iteration of life.
Yeah.
But in 2022, they were doing phenomenally. I think that they could see another like positive move. And the other one is Cheniere Energy, but Cheniere Energy is always doing really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just think
Yep.
they'll continue to do really
Yep.
well. And
What? Which one was Cheniere Energy? Was that the LNG one?
yes.
Okay, yeah, I've actually played them options and stocks, and they have done well. They've come back actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big time. So
Yep.
yeah, that for those of you not familiar, you can write it down. But that LNG, uh, yeah, they did well during COVID, and that's because of all the Russia Ukraine
Mm-hmm.
issues. Okay, with the pipelines.
And that's actually something that, to piggyback on what you were saying about Trump being the right man for this revolution, um, is,
Yeah.
one of the things that I
Hmm.
did not really agree with Biden was when they sanctioned Russian oil. And this is
Yeah,
going to sound really weird,
I know.
but the okay, if a country is making money off of
Hmm.
a natural resource and you want them to lose money, they don't lose money by sanctions because all
Hmm.
you actually end up doing is making that resource a lot more valuable.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
scarcity, supply and
yeah.
demand. Yeah.
So if you actually force them to sell into the market at the lowest rates possible, you actually cripple their economy faster. And one of the things by sanctioning Russian oil, it didn't matter. They were still selling their oil and gas
Yeah.
to third countries like
Hmm.
China and India and other countries, just like Iran did. And Iran always made money during
It's always a
sanctions
back door.
because people would still buy it. It's still a resource people
Uh-huh.
need. So people were willing to pay to get around the sanctions, and the Iran or Russia were still always making money.
Yeah.
And one of the things that people used to say is actually by forcing the countries
Hmm.
to liquidate their holdings as fast as possible but at the lowest rates possible, you actually cripple their economy faster. And so, in some way, the fact that like Russian oil is coming back onto the market, and we can see like right now, oil prices are
Yeah.
super down. That's
Yeah.
probably had a greater impact on Russia than all of
It
the other
has.
sanctions. But it is a little bit counterintuitive to the way, like most people are like, yeah, but if you sanction, they can't sell and then they lose money. Nah, you're just making
Uh,
like, there's backroom deals all the time. They'll find ways to sell and they'll sell it at a higher price because you've essentially made the value of their
yeah.
LNG much higher. Like Germany was not
Uh-huh.
buying Russian LNG.
Yeah.
Let's be perfectly
Yeah.
honest. They were just finding ways to lie about it, sadly.
And then another part people aren't looking at, and I forgot what the leg was called. What was that line between Russia and Europe? The line of gas. They were building something together. It was like and they
Hmm.
ended up they just stopped it. It was like like the transportation of LNG over into Europe. I can't think of the line, what it was called, but yeah,
But it was a
it was.
direct pipeline
Yeah,
like
it was a direct
into
pipeline. I
Germany.
forgot. Something five. Somebody can look it up. Just look up direct pipeline. Somebody put it in the chat. It was called. It was like a direct pipeline to
Mhm.
from Russia to, Germany, and they stopped
Nord
it.
2, that's it.
Yeah, Nord two. There we go. Thank you, whoever that is, Quentin. Thank you. Yeah. So look, when that happened, and it's funny you mentioned that, Suze. As soon as you As soon as that happened and they put sanctions, I thought supply and demand, scarcity. I was able to make a lot of money on LNG. I made a lot. When I say like that was one of my biggest gains, it was like 5,000% or something.
Wow.
Something ridiculous, 5,000%. So I made money on LNG. That was one of my biggest That was one of my biggest plays. Well, one of the biggest. And then also too, another thing people aren't looking at. I made money on RSX too. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that's Russia's stock market at the time. It's no longer it no longer exists right now
Mm-hmm.
because that was can't think of who
He
owned
said,
it.
I thought you didn't play with real money. Derek, not playing
Right,
with money.
right. Right. So oh, okay, Van Eck. That was Van Eck. Okay. You guys can look it up. Somebody put it in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
RSX. So that one did bite me in the butt. I stayed on that too long and the sanctions ended up hurting me.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first I've never seen anything like this. Susan, I don't know if I've told you this story, but I lost a lot of money in the RSX because they put those sanctions on Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that was Russian related got frozen. So I think I probably had like $7,000 or $8,000 that was froze with the sanctions. So I called Ameritrade at the time and I said, "Hey, I can't get out of this play. What can I do?" And they told me, they said, "We've never seen anything like this." They said the U.S. government has frozen anything Russian related. So I like to tell this joke that when Russia got sanctions put on now, Putin screwed me over. So
Was
yeah,
it was it was it Putin or was it
right,
this
right, right,
This
right, right.
Swift
Yeah,
situation? Oh my
it was
gosh.
Swift. Actually, it was the Swift banks, but so and I got greedy. I had heard rumors too that they were
Mhm.
going to freeze anything Russian related. So I I got caught up in that too, and that was a
Mhm.
valuable lesson to not get greedy. Somebody said,
Yep.
"Wait, thought you didn't play with real money." Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, it sanctions are they work well, but you can only do sanctions so much. Also, too, another thing people don't look at, what did we do with Venezuela? We had them on sanctions for like what years, and all of a sudden we opened that back up just so US so we could get more of their natural resources. Yeah,
Yep.
so people get their politics involved with Trump a lot, and I get it. But as far as the AI revolution, I don't think it's a better president that's built for this. And the reason I say that is because Trump is a businessman.
Mhm.
He is a businessman. He might not, you know, care about a lot of things, but he's all for U.S. like bringing jobs back and bringing work back. Is he going about it the right way? I won't sit here and say he's doing it the right way, but I
Mhm.
can say that as far as deregulation for the energy sector,
Mhm.
he, he, he's the best by far. I'll be honest, by
Mhm.
far. It's not even close.
So
So,
now what is your what you know, when people think of the AI revolution, they think, first thing that they think of
mhm.
is like semiconductors.
Yeah, yep,
And so
great question.
what do you think people are maybe ignoring about the semiconductor
Yep.
space? I mean, everything has been running since
Hmm.
the tariff bottom in
Hmm.
April. I mean, there just been massive runs on everything. I think whether it's AVGO, Micron,
Hmm.
AMD's the phenomenal, breakout here, um,
Yep,
NVIDIA. But what
that's
are
a
your
great question.
thoughts? What are we missing?
That's a great question. And I had a feeling you would ask this question because I asked myself that when I was making the AI report. Because I didn't want for it to be built on semiconductors. I kind of feel like that's an easy win, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
basic. A lot of people just, not gonna name anybody, but a lot of people, when they think AI, they only talk about semiconductors. They don't talk about energy. They don't talk about precious metals, or rare earth
Mm-hmm.
metals. So the two biggest areas that two biggest areas that people are overlooking, I would say it's energy, number one, and it's rare earth metals. And it is one company that has a monopoly on the industry of rare earth metals. So you guys get your pens out. Let me know when you're ready. So I just need one person to say in the chat. I'm gonna toss some gems out there. Susan's a good friend, so I'm gonna toss some gems out. Let me know. I just need one person to say. Well,
Look at
hey,
this.
I'll keep going. Okay, MP. Okay, MP. And I forgot what
Type
that
it in the
what
chat,
that.
friends.
Yeah,
MP.
yeah,
We're
MP.
ready.
Hold on. Let me see. Hey, have you heard that company yet, Suze? Let me see. Let me make sure.
Let me
I
see.
believe that's the MP. Yeah, Materials Corp. Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
I think
Materials
didn't we
Corp.
talk about this one actually last week? I think I was asking you about it.
Mm, yeah, you did, but we didn't. We haven't talked about it previously. I'm gonna tell you this much: MP has, yeah, that's a rare earth materials company. They went bankrupt before, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then they reconfigured, made another run at it, and so they have a monopoly on it. And not only that, they have the backing of the government. They have the
Mm-hmm.
backing of the government. So they signed a deal with the Department of Defense. Okay. So I am bullish on MP. I am bullish,
Look at
bullish,
this.
bullish,
I love
bullish.
it. If Millennial Properties is in, you know that it's a good stock. He's always on top of things. He's always,
Okay.
always
Yeah. Oh,
whenever I
okay.
come up
No,
with
no.
stocks, he's like, "Oh
Hmm.
yeah, I love it." I'm like, "Okay, if
Yeah.
he loves it, I love it double."
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you something about MP because I, for those of you not familiar, in Pennsylvania, they had the AI summit out in Pennsylvania. You probably seen it, Suze. I know you heard
Mm,
about it. Trump was there. But the CEO of MP, okay, he said that with the U.S. backing, they'll be able to price what China would price. So you got to think about it. If Trump
mm,
wants to make sure they're dominant and we're not reliant on China, because China for the longest was the only country that could pulverize it, break it down, and remanufacture. I forgot the word to use on it, but they were the only country that could break down the metals and
mhm,
repurpose them. But now we have a company MP that can do the same now. So that
mhm.
company it essentially is the monopoly. Okay. So somebody said, where can we read the AI paper? Hey,
Reverse
I
manufacturing. That's the
yeah,
word.
I'll put it in the chat eventually, or maybe
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
Derek. I
we'll
know you're in the
post it
club.
in the stories
Yeah,
again because it is
yeah,
in our post and it is in the stories and it is on Derek's
yeah.
page.
Actually, it's on
Um,
my page. That's probably the best place to get it. That's the best place to get. Yeah, and if you do a 7-day free trial, you can get it for free. Like I always tell people this. Look, honestly, if you couldn't afford, my stock club, what you could do, you could do a 7-day free trial, and still get it. Okay, I'm not even worried about that. I always tell people, what that ends up coming back to me anyways, because what happens is people who can't afford me usually ends up joining later, so I don't care. So
that's a
yeah,
really good
so
way of thinking about it.
yeah,
Positive karma.
yeah, it, I've had people do that. They've joined for 7 days just to get something free from me, and then those 7 days are up, and then probably like 3 months later, they're like, you know what, I'll join because you got
Yeah,
some good
it
stuff
was
coming.
worth it.
So yeah, I don't even worry about that. So that's where you can find it. Just follow me, and it's on my page. You just scan around.
Mhm,
So the two biggest areas, Suze, is energy
mhm,
and rare earth metals, and it's
mhm,
MP. It is MP. If you're looking
mhm,
at energy, I would wait for a pullback with Constellation Energy Group,
mhm,
CEG. You can somebody put that in the
mhm.
chat. Also to Duke Energy. That's
Uh-huh.
that's number one and two. Those are kind of like Batman and Robin. Okay.
Yep.
And
We have been in
uh,
Duke Energy since like
yeah,
the 70s.
hmm
This thing is
yeah.
doing, I mean, it's just doing amazing. It's
I haven't
always,
even
it's
looked at
like
them
at,
in a while.
it was at 115. I don't know now. I have to look again
Yeah, I'm
what it
curious to
is.
know myself.
122. But I mean, it has just been on a tear. It's been on a perfect
Right.
uptrend since 2003.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that.
And they don't pay as good a dividend as Devon Energy,
Yeah,
but I mean, they're just, it's a kind of like buy and hold forever. They're just
yeah.
constantly moving. They're brilliant.
Constellation too. They haven't closed out a deal with a company called Calpine. That's another thing that nobody, people don't think of, especially if they're not in the industry. But Calpine, if you look them up, you could Google it. They own most of the natural gas, pipelines. So
Hmm.
Constellation Energy bought them, but it's going to become a monopoly. So Constellation Energy has to sell off, and this is public information.
Hmm.
Constellation has to sell off some of their assets to make this legal. So not only will Constellation have the energy, the hydro, the nuclear, solar, they'll also too have this gas. Okay, they'll have
Is
the
there
number
ever
one
going to
gas
be a
company.
problem with them looking like a monopoly?
It it kind of already is. I'm saying that's why they got sell off stuff. Yeah. So, and for those of you not familiar, they have the largest nuclear fleet in the U.S. actually in the
Mhm,
country. So Constellation Energy Group, they have Calvert Nuclear Plant, they have 3 Mile Island, which is coming back on. Okay, we're seeing a nuclear renaissance. Okay, so
mhm,
for those of you not familiar, 3 Mile Island nuclear plant, and you guys probably heard of Chernobyl. Chernobyl. Okay, that was the plant that had the accident back in what, the 70s or something like that.
mhm,
And I know 3 Mile Island had an accident in 1979. Okay,
mhm,
that plant's closed. That unit, they got multiple units. They got like 3 units, I believe. That unit is closed. They're bringing one on back on that was closed for 3 years or 5 years. They're
mhm,
bringing it back. And you know why?
mhm.
Because of AI. We need the energy. We can't compete with China.
Yep.
US can't compete with China. That's why you're
Yeah.
seeing a lot of nuclear plants coming back online. What
Mhm,
nuclear plants do, they it's called decommissioning. Okay, so basically they take the fuel out of the nuclear power plant. Okay, they defuel it. Okay, and
mhm,
then they start breaking it down, and then the plant's no longer running. It's not producing energy. They're bringing those plants back online. So Palisades energy is in consumers energy owns them. So you can write that down, you guys. Consumer energy owns Palisades nuclear plant. That's in Michigan. That's in Covert, Michigan. They're bringing
mhm,
that plant back online,
mhm. Yeah,
and
I
that
mean,
plant was
even
closed.
France is
Yeah,
like they were supposed
yeah,
to take a bunch of
hmm
their nuclear off, and they've decided to like just pour in massive
yeah,
amounts of funding
yeah, hmm
to update all of them because
yeah.
of the whole Russia situation. They never wanted to feel strangled like that again, and I think that is
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, and the war in Ukraine has proved how much nuclear energy has advanced
hmm
because in Europe, Ukraine actually has the largest nuclear facility. And
Yeah.
this entire situation has
hmm
like been on top of
Uh-huh.
their nuclear facility, and they've had sustained zero damage. So it does demonstrate like just in 40 years how far the technology has come, but
Yeah.
also just the infrastructure of the buildings.
hmm
I mean, the reality is that Chernobyl taught Europe a
Yeah.
lot.
A lot.
And
It taught the whole world a lot.
yeah, and it's
Because
everybody has bet all of the nuclear facilities have benefited from all of that
yeah, they
information,
did. They
thankfully.
did. Because the U.S. sent people over there to Chernobyl to study what happened, and that was the best thing because they got to study it on the fly. Also, too,
Hmm.
another thing people don't talk about too, Fukushima. Okay, that was
Hmm.
that accident where you seen the lid blow off the Fukushima reactor.
Hmm. Yep.
What that led to was U.S. plants. All of the U.S. sites, nuclear plants, have a Fukushima program, and it's literally called Fukushima
Hmm.
like program. So what it is they have extra materials, they have extra anything that's related to emergency that could cause an accident. They
Hmm.
have it. So it calls every nuclear plant to look at things and figure out what the cause and the reaction was. Okay.
Hmm.
So somebody said Fukushima like 15 years ago. Yeah, Fukushima, look it up. Fukushima nuclear accident.
Japan. Yeah.
Yep, Japan. That
And
caused Japan to shut down all nuclear
yes.
in all of Japan.
And
So
what's
that
amazing is
yeah.
that every year they make everybody do like these
hmm
huge battery of like health
yeah.
exams,
hmm
and they had zero change in health quality of
yeah.
health
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
anywhere like Fukushima in relationship
hmm
to any other part of
yeah.
Japan. Their health quality of health stayed the same, which again demonstrates how
Yeah.
far the like health and safety has come with these nuclear
Yeah.
facilities. I know that was a big thing with 3 Mile Island as well, that the people like were
hmm
trying to sue and go back and say that like some of the health
Yeah.
ramifications that
Yep,
they
I
had
get it.
had to do with the nuclear reactor. How much of it is like cover up or not cover up?
Yeah,
But
I'll
the
be honest.
reality
It's
is that if if 20,000 people were dying of rare cancers, you can't really hide that. The fact that
yeah,
some people may have been impacted, and that's, I mean, those people have lives and are real human
right, right,
beings, and they didn't deserve to be ignored if it was
right,
impacted by Three
right,
Mile Island. But again, it demonstrates how far the technology has come when it comes to nuclear, because of the fact that Fukushima, Three Mile Island, even
yeah,
like this war in Ukraine. I
yep,
mean,
yep,
we should be seeing crazy levels of cancer and other illnesses
r-
relating to like
exactly.
radiation if it
Hmm.
was leaking like the way that we saw.
Right.
Chernobyl, you couldn't hide it. I mean, people
Yeah.
were
No,
literally
you couldn't.
melting to
Yeah, you
death.
couldn't. Uh, and this is the thing. Before I got into the industry, and especially nuclear, it's kind of, you just hear rumors and stuff. They kind of like, what's the word, fictionalize it, or, they make it
Mhm.
all Hollywood. You seen with this I this China movie, I can't think, China Syndrome or something. It was like back in the 80s or something with Jane Fonda, but they made it all like people were melting. But you know what? I'm a straight up. Nuclear is the safest by far industry I've been in. And the reason, I'll tell you why. Everybody's handcuffed to each other. So all the plants, like if one plant has an accident, all of them are in trouble. And yeah, it's money involved in it. People don't want to lose money. So what you see at a lot of these nuclear plants, people work very safe, and they don't play at all. And
Mhm.
I've worked in several industries. I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry, nuclear, gas, yeah. Nuclear by far is a safe. You feel more safer at a nuclear plant than you do when you get outside the world, outside the plant, because they don't play. Okay,
Yeah.
so the touch on that, yeah, Duke Energy and Constellation are the two biggest ones, and actually Constellation had a pullback at one time.
Yeah.
I know you've seen it. It was
Hmm.
during the tariffs. Okay, so let me
Hmm.
see where I'm looking right now. Constellation actually had a pullback at one
But
point in
even now
time. No,
they're not at a
no,
bad price. I mean, they're down
no,
at
it's not.
300, and
Yeah,
they were up
300,
close to almost
357.
375. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. So let me see. Yeah, they had a pullback at one point in time. It was in April 4th. They were 170. Now they're 300. Crazy money.
crazy.
Crazy. Somebody say I agree. I was in construction for a few years. Yeah. So yeah, I would say energy and rare earth metals. So MP, that is my dark horse. Actually it's a one person race. It's MP. Just telling
Right.
you, that is a one right there. And
That
I
when
look
you
for the,
when you know you've cornered a market, you have nowhere
yeah.
else to go but up. And Millennial Properties did post about EOSE energy, and they are pining for a breakout. So
Now,
the other company though that I was when I was doing some research on your research,
hmm
just to be able to actually say something
hmm
interesting, potentially
you
no,
good?
that GE Veranova, GEV, ticker
Yeah,
symbol
yeah,
GEV,
yeah,
they
yeah.
have just been on a tear. And we've played them a couple of times,
hmm
but I've always been like, oh, now there needs to be some kind of pullback. That thing rides the 20 moving average like nobody's business.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, is
yeah.
this thing even going to pull back to like a 10 moving
Right.
average? It is almost like exponential. It just doesn't even breathe. But
Vistra
they
too.
are, I'm sorry.
Vistra too. VST.
Oh,
Vistra.
yeah. And we have some big plays right now on Vistra,
Yeah,
and we did
Vistra
have
is.
a number of plays on GE. Now we've rolled off those, but now I'm like, maybe we need to start looking at something on
Let me see.
GEV, because
Yeah,
at the moment I don't have anything. And we during 2024 and the beginning of 2025, we had a bunch of trades on GEV, and we haven't. Every I love Vistra, yes.
yeah. Vistra, GEV. Yeah, yeah. That's a company I like too. But
NVTS.
yep, yep. MVTTS. Yep. So I would say too, Vertex too. I think it's called Vertex. What is that?
Yes,
The
yes,
liquid cooling company. So you were
yes.
asking what some other areas people are overlooking. Got to
Mm-hmm.
remember, liquid cooling is huge. Okay, these data centers need to be able to cool. Okay, and Nvidia had some issues with some of their components overheating,
Mm-hmm.
and Vertex was able to. For those of you not familiar, what let me see what is a ticker for Vertex? I know it's
Vertiv, that's it.
Vertiv. Let me see what is the ticker for that one. I can't think. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
VRT.
Yep.
Okay, somebody put that in the chat. VRT, Vertiv. Okay. I listened to a lot of podcasts and the CEO was saying that they're backed up. They're
Mm-hmm.
backed up. They're busy because you got to remember they started out VRT as cooling for what is it called? Can't I'm trying to think of it. But
It was like something
refrigeration.
manufacturing. It was
Refrigeration.
yes,
What's the
yeah,
other
yeah,
name
yeah. It was
for
the
refrigeration?
refrigerators and
Yeah.
freezers,
Yeah.
and like for those like monster trucks, whatever, like
Yeah.
those trucks that cover
Right.
carry like meat and stuff. Those refrigeration trucks. I
I
don't know
can't
what
think
they're
of the
called,
name, but
but
my cousin or my nephew does it for a living. I can't hydro or not hydro, but starts with an H. But yeah, they weren't even in this industry. Okay.
Mhm.
But ever since data centers have become a thing, the CEO was saying that they can't keep up with production. So they also have liquid cooling. They tried with the cooling with the blowing, with cooling fans, but that's liquid cooling by far is the best
Mhm.
way. Also, to another thing people don't think about too, China actually is building data centers underwater. Why do you think? It's
Cooling.
cheaper. Cooling.
Yep.
It's cheaper.
That was
Okay, so
actually one of the big
yeah,
reasons that
yeah.
nuclear got shut down in
Uh-huh,
Germany is
uh-huh.
because they were cooling the nuclear plants with water from the Rhine, and it was heating up the water in the Rhine, and it was causing
Hmm.
like other algae to form.
Yeah,
So and then they couldn't figure out another way to like cool the plants down, so a lot
yeah,
of the plants just had to shut down because it wasn't green enough. The Green
right.
Party didn't like nuclear for that reason. And then when I saw these like underwater nuclear
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
that China was doing, I was like, oh my gosh, they like
Yeah.
literally took the problem that Germany was having and then
Uh-huh.
found a solution to a
Uh-huh.
problem that they never even had. That's
Yeah, yeah. China, that's why I say China is ahead in some areas. Are they ahead in chips? No, because the American stack is, number one, and that's what's funny. Like, talking about DeepSeek, which for those of you not familiar, DeepSeek is the China's version of what OpenAI, ChatGPT.
mhm,
Okay. Even when that news came out that DeepSeek could use open source models to
mhm.
do the same thing chat gpt, guess what chips they were using? Nvidia. So Nvidia is still number one. I know some people got some concerns. They're like, oh, I heard about China is still buying Nvidia chips. Yeah, does the
Yep.
government want them not to use Nvidia chips? Yes,
But isn't it
but
now that Nvidia
yeah,
has committed to paying like 15% of all their
yeah,
like
yeah,
extra
yeah.
on all their
Mhm.
China sales or something like
Yeah,
that?
they are. Hey, look, hey, Trump is a businessman, so the piggyback on that United States government is going to get 15% of AMD and Nvidia sales for anything China related, and that's the H100 series chips. Supposedly they're not the best, but I've looked into it, and the H100s they work. I won't say as well as the best chips in the US, but it's not far off. Don't think
Mhm.
they're getting any inferior chips because I know what's his name, Lutnick or whatever. I don't know his first name, but I just call him Lutnick.
Isn't it
Uh,
Michael Lutnick?
yeah, whoever that guy is, I forgot what he is to but yeah, he was saying that China's getting inferior equipment. Trust me. One thing about Jensen, hey, Jensen Wong, he's a businessman. He's not gonna sell China some
Yeah.
some horrible chips. He's a businessman. H100 Nvidia. That's right, Pierre. Somebody had a question in there, and I want to hit it. Okay, because
Mhm.
Candace, I won't even try to. answer your or say your last name, but Candace, that's a good question. I'm glad somebody brought the question up. She says, "I don't think the electrical grid can handle substation load." That's true,
Hmm.
but I'm going to tell you something about AI. And if you look in this report, and I know you've seen it, Suze, they are coming up with smart grids. Okay. So what it is AI is going to be controlling these grids when, things overheat or when it's too much supply, not enough, or yeah, too much demand, not enough supply. These electrical grids are going to be ran by AI, which is weird because AI is going to be doing a lot of things. So what it is that if, we're asleep at night, obviously it's less load, it's less demand for electrical energy, right?
Hmm.
So these smart grids are going to be storing, energy and resupplying it, and redirecting it. Are we going to need new infrastructure? Yes, that's an opportunity too, Suze, that nobody's talking about. We're going to
Hmm.
need more infrastructure. What all
Yeah,
these
because like
plants are
Texas
doing,
can't
yeah,
cope with anything. So, I mean, and the grid's just not integrated between
yeah,
states and all this kind of stuff. So,
but
there's a lot that can be done if the federal government will actually like, or the local states will actually put money behind it. But
yeah, we
uh,
that's a good thing. I'm gonna refer back to the that's why and I'm not trying to push, going with the AI report. If you look in there, I talked about that too. Trump
mhm,
administration is like they're opening all of the floodgates to infrastructure. So they're going to be building a lot of infrastructure to keep up with the
mhm,
energy demand. That's why I said Trump administration is by far the best administration for this AI era.
mhm.
Okay, politics aside, politics aside, they are they started a commission, and I forgot what it is. It's in the report. I can't think of the name, but pretty
The
much
Energy Commission,
Energy Commission. They're gonna
Energy
open up.
Dominance
Yeah,
Commission, I think
yeah,
is.
that's what it's called. Dominance Commission. Okay, somebody put that in the chat. Dominance Commission. Thank you. I read that whole thing. Also watched a podcast that was like, whew, that podcast was like 10 hours worth of information.
Wow.
10 hours. Like seriously, for like a week. That's all I listened to was the Energy Dominance Council, and the guy Trump is making like he hired, they his administration got the Energy Dominance Council. What they're going to do, they're looking to make it much easier to build infrastructure around AI to keep up
Hmm.
with the energy demand. Because if you guys didn't hear, China is what, double? They have
Hmm.
31.6% of the net global output of energy.
Hmm.
USA is number two with 15%. You need
Hmm.
energy. You need electrical energy to keep up with the grid.
Yeah,
So
I
that
think
that's
actually,
iffy.
the fact that each state controls their own electric
Hmm.
grid, I think that made sense like 30 years ago,
Hmm.
but I do think that this is going to be maybe too socialist minded of
Yeah,
me. But I think that like as a national security issue, that there should be a minimum standard like
yeah,
regulated from like the federal government because
yeah,
what Texas has been through and the amount of money that Texas has, I mean, it just demonstrates there is corruption because we shouldn't have year after year after year where like half of Texas is without any electricity in the dead of winter. It's crazy.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I remember that happened what, like several years ago. That was the thing with like Joe Osteen when they had that the funny part is the only one in Texas that had energy was Elon.
yep. Because my
Yep, it was
parents were
Elon.
with like I mean, it was crazy. And this was
Uh-huh.
like almost like 2 or 3 years in a row where
Uh-huh.
like the whole grid just
Yeah.
went down and they were just complete. And I was like, this is
Uh-huh. Yeah,
dangerous and
that snowstorm.
scary.
Yeah, well, it was.
So, yeah.
And for those of you not familiar, the history behind it is I think at one point Texas was considering becoming their own lake country, like way back.
They're
Like
always talking about it. Come on now.
they do say Texas, everything's bigger in Texas, and yeah. So Texas is the only state I believe that is isolated from the rest of the grid. Like nobody can connect to Texas. So nobody can, it works for you and it hurts you because nobody can tap into your lines and nobody can bring any energy and they can't so there does need to be, Candace, infrastructure reform. and that's what they're working on with this Energy Dominance Council. They are putting a lot of money into that, and
Hmm.
if you guys want to look into that, it's some opportunities to make money in that area, and I cover them in the AI report too to help you out. So we'll need some of the companies like Verizon,
Hmm.
T-Mobile, a lot of companies are we're gonna need AI. Okay,
Hmm.
AI is gonna restructure everything, and I mean
Hmm.
everything. So
Yeah, it's Candace mentioned Palantir is doing a lot to support asset management
mhm.
overload.
Yeah,
And actually,
yeah,
it's
I like
funny.
Palantir a lot.
I
Morals
was
aside.
listening to no. I was listening to a different podcast and they were talking about um commodities trading and the insurance costs because of the number of steps you have in
Hmm.
transporting different
Right.
and when I mean agricultural commodities moving around like wheat and getting the
Hmm.
timing correct and things
Yeah.
like this, that a lot of agricultural companies were not able
Hmm.
to like get their whole processing system and
Hmm.
logistics in a way that would actually make them profitable. And a lot of the
Hmm.
companies were bankrupting. And for some reason, somebody was like, you know what? Let's utilize Palantir's AI to actually
Yeah.
run through all of our systems
Hmm.
and then see, if there's actually something we can do to like improve our cost efficiency because
Yeah.
basically they were at the edge of bankrupting and now their stock price is like booming
Hmm.
and it was because of the way they were able to utilize Palantir and oh, it's Tom Lee who was talking about it. And
Hmm.
the issue that they had that they didn't realize is there was something with the timing of the trucking that was causing them to have these like excessive costs. And if they like rerouted their trucking system at like a
Hmm.
different time, it cut like
Yeah.
their trucking costs by some massive amount. And then it totally changed like the entire profitability of the company. So I cannot imagine that AI wouldn't be able to support massively the efficiency on every level, whether it's in grids or in the use of,
Right.
renewable energies or the use of LNG. But
These
yeah,
companies are
sorry.
tossing a lot of money, Susan. They're tossing a lot of money into AI infrastructure. So what you see is you're going to start to see, and you're already seeing it. You're seeing Meta hook up with Constellation. They're already doing it. Amazon is actually has the purchase. They call them purchase power agreements or something like that. Okay, they're doing these purchase power agreements. Not only are they buying the energy, they're also saying, "Look, we're going to supply in money for infrastructure." So these plants have to be up and running by like certain timelines. They're not even playing. Like 2027, 3 Mile Island has to be up and running by 2027. Okay. They have to be up and running. Also, too, Amazon has a purchase power agreement too.
Mhm.
Yeah, purchase power agreement (PPA). They have one with Constellation. Also, Meta, they're buying hydropower. Another area, now I talked about it in the AI report, is these superclusters too. Okay,
Mhm.
they have these superclusters. Elon Musk has the one called Colossus out in Memphis, Tennessee. I talked about that in the AI report too. Okay, so he has that one. That one has the world's largest amount of superclusters. Let me see. I'm trying to think. I know it's something insane. It's an insane amount of
Mhm.
chips in that one. I can't think. Let me see. I don't know how many it says is in there, but it's a lot. It's something ridiculous. But you're gonna see a lot of energy demand over the next few years, and we have to supply. It's no other, it's no other way around it. And if you
Mhm.
look at this, I talked about a chart. In the 1950s, we had an average annual load growth of 8.8%. That was 1950s. Okay, that was when new appliances came out. Okay, with the washers, dryers. Then we had air conditioning in 1960s. So
Mhm.
that added 7.4%. Then 1970s, it went down to 4.7%. Then 80s, 3%, 2.4%. So we went from 8.8% down to 2.4% in 1990, from 1950 to 2 point or 1990. What you're seeing now, Suze, is that number run back up. So it's
Hmm.
crazy. We went from 8% average annual load growth. That was the growth. So it meant like 8.8% growth from in the 1950s, for that 10-year decade. What we're seeing now, we went from in the 2000s 0.7 to 3% in 2024. So you see how now it went down and now it's going
Hmm.
back up. That's
Yeah.
because of AI demand. So what you're going to see, for those of you not
I
familiar,
thought you were going to tell me it's because people want to have their McMansions, because
yeah,
air
that's
conditioning
right.
those 20
Hmm.
bedroom homes for two
Hmm.
people is really something
No,
diabolical for energy
right.
loads. But no, I'm just
Right.
kidding.
No, 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 you're good. It's gonna get crazy with AI demand. It's gonna get
Hmm.
crazy. So that is definitely a potential play, for long term. For those of you who do have, especially young children, you might want to look into energy, anything energy related. As far as Constellation, Duke Energy, Vistra, VST. We talked about that. Also, too, Verizon and T-Mobile. People don't think about that. Okay, we're gonna need a
And
whole
Verizon's
new.
like one of the best dividend paying
Yeah.
stocks.
Yep. Yep.
So you have nothing to lose
So,
with
yeah,
Verizon.
it's my, yeah, Quentin said SMH. If you don't want to think and you just would like, look, I don't want to think. SMH, ETF, that is a great one. They've been on a tear this year too.
Hmm.
So, yeah, this is bigger than just AI. It's geopolitical issues. And it was a part in the AI report too. They're going to start treating energy also an AI like a weapon. You know how we
Yep.
use oil and we use some of our other commodities, precious metals, as leverage, like China does. China has, they have the precious metals. Obviously, they're still from Africa, but we won't go there. They use it as a weapon, like here, oil demand. Here, we're not gonna give you this oil unless you act right. What they're gonna start doing is that they're gonna do that with AI. I'm telling you, they're gonna
Hmm.
do that. Like if you know what, you want some energy, or you want, precious metals, they're going to use it. So you're going. It's bigger than just AI.
Hmm.
It's for Chat GPT. It's bigger than that. Companies like Palantir and
Hmm.
Anduril. Okay, that's a company that's private right now. I'm sure you've heard of them. Anduril. When they do
Hmm.
go public, Anduril will be
You
one
told
of
me
the
about
biggest.
them.
Yeah, they
Actually,
will.
you told me about
Oh,
them.
okay. And write that down. Put that in the chat, somebody. Anduril.
Looking in the chat.
Anduril. That will be one of the biggest public companies when they go public. It is private right now. It'll be bigger than Palantir. The guy that's the CEO of Anduril, his name's Lucky Palmer. Lucky Palmer is actually the one who invented those Meta AI glasses. What are those things called? I don't know. Some of you guys probably use them. The
Yeah, the
little
Ray
little white
Bans.
look.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, no, not the Ray-Bans. I'm talking about the ones that like kids use that are like
Oh,
the
okay.
meta
Hmm.
glasses. I don't know what the name is. Some of you guys have kids, the ones with the like they use them with the little chops. He invented those. They use those on the warfield. I mean, they're not using the little chop parts, but
Yeah.
they're using glasses. So
Hmm.
yeah, Oculus. There you go. Thank you, Quentin. Oculus.
Quentin, you are on top of it today, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. Oculus glasses were invented by this guy, Lucky Palmer. Meta bought his company. Zuckerberg fired him. Now he has his own company, Anduril now, and So Anduril they use drone equipment, they
Mhm.
use weapons, their technology is in everything. They're so important that they done a partnership with Palantir. So Palantir's like systems are helping them, and Anduril like it's deep. So like if you guys want to go on like a rabbit hunt. Hey, look up Anduril. Go to their website. It's crazy. It is
That's also
crazy.
the other one, Katos. Yeah, don't
Yeah,
sleep
yeah,
on. That's
yeah.
another one. Yes, fire.
It's yeah. So when I was creating this, it was mind opening, especially like some of the private companies. And Scale AI was one of my big companies that I thought was going to go public, but obviously, for those of you not
Wait, isn't it
familiar,
Kratos? Kratos Defense. Yes. Okay. He
yeah,
also put that. Yes,
yep,
Kratos Defense. And they're not too expensive right now. They're only
yep.
$65. So there's still a stock you can reasonably purchase.
You know, a company that everybody's overlooking, and it's one of the most, it's one of the most important companies. We use them every day. Google. Everybody is overlooking Google. And the reason Google's been down, I know you know this, is because they where they had that antitrust situation
Hmm.
where, where it's looking like they're gonna need to sell Google Chrome. Google, okay, put that in the chat. I'm telling you guys, Google is not going anywhere. People forget about Google. They were the
Hmm.
first one. They were the first one with DeepMind to really get this AI boom going. Long before Microsoft, long before OpenAI, and the reason they did because they had that. So I think what that game was called over in China. It, I can't think of the game, and I told my stock club this, but it's a game over in China. It beat the top player at the game. And Quentin probably knows, he knows everything. This guy, so it's a game that it they use the AI model to beat the top player. Like this guy was a world class Go. That's what it's called, Go. It's a game called Go. Look it up.
Hmm.
DeepMind, which is owned by Google, they had an AI bot beat the top player in China. That's when China realized Xi Jinping, China's leader, he realized like, hey, this AI stuff is serious. That's when they started making a run. So China actually has had a head start over the US.
Hmm.
Only thing we have that China doesn't have is that we got private capital companies that are willing to bet, put a lot of money on a 10% chance that a company might win,
Hmm.
make it. And I think that's what hurts other countries, and continents, Europe, UK, is in America. A lot of these companies are willing to bet on a company, even though it might fail.
Hmm.
So somebody said yes, they bought YouTube after being the number one search engine. That's correct. Google does
Hmm.
own, obviously, the number one and two search engines. So Google is a monopoly. Let's
Yeah.
be real. They are a monopoly.
But their stock is doing amazing. We've been
Yeah.
in long
Yeah.
positions since
Mhm.
forever, and those are just baking and baking, and they're just
Yeah.
deep in the money, just baking away. So, um, and they just continue to climb to new highs, and they do it in a very
Hmm.
gentle way. That's the
Yeah, they
nice
do.
thing is that it's
Yeah.
it's not this like boom and bust
Dramatic.
price
Yeah.
action. So it has a really nice trajectory to it. So just you could say.
Yeah, that's funny. I told my stock club about stock options club. I told them about this long ago. I don't know what the price was for Google. I kept telling them, "Hey, look, don't sleep on Google. Once this monopoly antitrust issue is
Mm-hmm.
behind them, and it's looking like it's getting close because I've seen somebody wants to buy them. I can't. Anthropic. Yeah, it might be Anthropic. It's
Mm-hmm.
talking about buying Google Chrome. They want to buy it. So
Oh.
if that happens, look for Google to do even well. It's been like a black cloud hanging over Google for the longest. So Google does have the technology also to make their own chips. A lot of people forget. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Amazon makes their own chips too. They make these titanium semiconductor
Mhm.
chips. Okay, these Google makes these TPU chips, not GPU. So they make these TPU chips that are they're pretty dope. So a lot of companies are trying to get away from using NVIDIA. NVIDIA is number one, but if a company feels like, you know what, we could get away, we can make our own chips instead of making or buying Google chips because the Google chips cost a lot. The H200s are like I think $40,000 a piece,
Mhm.
and Elon bought a massive amount of them. He can't get enough of them.
Mhm.
That supercluster that he has over in Memphis, Tennessee, called Colossus. That thing has it by far has the most
Isn't it like
chips.
300,000 or something like that? It's some
It's something
crazy
ridiculous.
number.
I wrote it in here somewhere. Let me see. I wrote it in here somewhere. I know I did somewhere. So somebody in my stock club probably might know on here, but it's something crazy. Let me see. Oh, here he goes. Okay. He said, yeah, he said we bought 100,000 H100. Yeah, semiconductors. We're gonna get it up to $200,000. So yeah, the H200s. Yeah. So Colossus is in Memphis, Tennessee.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that's the data center that powers Grok. And Grok just came out. I think they got Grok 4. OpenAI had a huge head start before, or ChatGPT had a huge start before Grok 4. Grok 4 is already surpassing ChatGPT. And I don't know if you know, but they do this test called the AIM test,
Hmm.
AIME test, and it's a test that goes by the test. It's a math and like science test, like STEM test.
Hmm.
Grok is killing that thing with a 90% rate, and I think ChatGPT is number two with like 80%. So Grok actually is the best large language model. Do I
Hmm.
still like to use ChatGPT? Yeah, but Grok is killing it, and the
Yeah, I
reason
have a
being,
colleague that
yeah,
prefers Grok
mhm,
to Chat GPT, and so we're always comparing, um,
yeah.
like on research notes and stuff. Who came up with the better answer, let's say. Somebody was asking, are you buying calls or shares for NP? Or
Shares
Candace
for
asked,
now.
I should say.
Oh, okay. Hey, Candice, shares for now, but I have shares in MP, but it doesn't hurt to get calls if the spreads look good. Okay, it
Hmm.
has to make sense though. You got to see the spreads though too. I haven't looked at how many the volume or anything on it. So to be honest, I haven't bought any calls, and the reason being is that I like a history. I like to have a history with a company before I just, buy options on it. I'll buy stock on it because I can hold that forever. But I
Hmm.
don't, I don't, so I would caution against options unless, it has a nice tight, spread in between. So just on the options pricing because you know, might take forever and a day to sell options call. You don't want to be stuck with all that money.
Hmm. And yeah, Top Scholar said, keep in mind Elon was a founder at OpenAI, so not
Yep.
surprised by Grok.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Grok is killing it, man. Elon's on another level. They said that it would take 2 years for him to get Colossus
colossal.
up and running. They got it done. I think it was like what?
It's
Wait.
crazy. It was like 3 months.
122 days. He
Yeah.
said, "Yep, they got it up and running and trained from
Mm-hmm.
start to finish. It was done in 122 days." Jensen Huang, who is NVIDIA CEO, he said he's never seen anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like him, love him or hate him, Elon, I don't know what it is about him. He's able to get people to like, just buy into whatever he's doing. I don't know if that's good or bad though, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, people are
he,
always, he's gruff. He's not somebody you
yeah,
want
he's
to be best
polarizing.
friends with.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if he's passionate about it and he is
yeah.
fixated, you just know that he's going to get it done because it's his fixation. He'll need to. So
hmm
you can you don't have to trust him. You just have to trust his obsessive personality.
Yeah, I'm reading right here some of the report too. He said of the roughly 10 billion in AI related expenditures, they're spending a lot of money. And rumor has it that Elon wants to buy more chips of the H200s, but he can't. Like Jensen's like, dude, we're not making enough. It's not fair. And Nvidia just had their earnings. I guess we probably should talk about that too. A lot of people are down on Nvidia because of their earnings. You got to remember, and for those of you who are old enough to remember, it's almost like I compare it, and this is how I compared it in my group. It's almost like the world wants Thriller album, and they gave him Bad album with Michael Jackson. Bad album was a great album. It's just,
Mhm.
they had Beat It, they had, some of the other hits. It just wasn't Thriller. So like
Yeah,
you got to remember, like sometimes when a company sets the bar too high and it goes like 122% increase in, revenue, and then all of a sudden it's 56%, people would kill for the 56%.
yeah. But their normally they have such a massive run up into
Hmm
their earnings that they give back a huge portion of the move
hmm
the next day. But um, you know, I think that Nvidia's, I mean, they looked like they were going to have a rounding top for for a while there.
Right,
So it
right,
already
right.
looked like naturally they needed a pullback. But I mean,
Yeah.
really, I think they held their pricing together considering how much everyone was like waiting for them to come out with their earnings. I think that, they held on really strong. Even
Yeah.
the day after on Thursday, it was really the Friday that they rolled over, but on the Thursday they gave back all
Hmm.
of the drop on earnings. But then, yeah, Friday kind of was like
Yeah.
the truth teller. But they're still at 175. And if
Yeah.
you think
Still at
about it, I mean,
175.
like a 2 years, I mean, I remember a year ago when, uh, yeah, a year ago that, Nvidia was like, oh, can they even hold at like over 1,000? And now it's, I mean, if you think back at, before it split, it's at 1,700 essentially a share. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's yeah. It's amazing. How Nvidia's held up, and I believe it's going to continue to push ASML. You know, which a lot of these companies also too can't do business with China. That's what's holding back a lot of everybody's. And that's a
Mhm.
Dutch company, which is weird that a Dutch company is controlled by the U.S. And ASML. For those of you not familiar, you can put it in the chat too. ASML makes the wafers for for TSM and
Mhm.
NVIDIA.
Yeah,
So
the
they
lithographs.
have yeah, they have the lithographs and the tools for it. So ASML is a huge player. So I just looked. I see Nvidia continuing to make money. They're not going
Mhm.
anywhere. I just think that like for now, you're not gonna see those massive runs of 120%. And
Mhm.
if you look at them, and I just seen the chart like comparing each year. They had a pullback in 2021, and then that was a year after that. It was like 122%. So
Mhm.
just saying, yeah. If you go back and if you go back and look at the years on
Mhm.
their revenue, they had a major pullback, and then it was like so.
Yeah. I have to say I'm also surprised that ASML took
Hmm.
such a massive hit on their guidance. They just
Hmm.
nobody liked how they gave their guidance on
Hmm.
earnings, but I didn't think it would fall back that bad. But it's actually doing, I mean, it's still, climbing back up. It's kind of it gummed that drop, but now
Hmm.
it's almost back. It was at what? It was up at 840 when they had the drop, and it's now at 750. So, it's almost back to where it was and can get back onto that trajectory. Especially now that I think that the whole Nvidia and AMD situation is worked out with how they're going to pay tariffs to be able to cooperate with China. I
Yeah.
think that takes some of the pressure off all of the semiconductors, just because that space seemed to be constantly worried about what would happen with China. But, if it's just about payouts, I think that a lot of companies are going to be willing to kind of pay their pay the what they say to grease the machine. It's not paying a bribe, but they're greasing the machine.
Right.
So
That's the thing. Everybody's trying to weaponize AI. I get it, and Trump's reaching for anything he can use to for leverage against China, be it U.S. companies or And one thing I respect about Jensen that's different. Okay, he's a businessman too, and he knows how to talk to Trump. And what he's leveraging with Trump is that you want the U.S. to have the AI stack, or
mhm,
you want China to build off of U.S. technology because that gives us the upper hand as U.S. So that's what he's trying to sell. And when I listened to that AI summit and Jensen was there and Trump, which was funny. It was a weird interview with Trump. Trump's like, I didn't even know who this Jensen guy was, and I'm thinking, how do you not know Jensen? And you're like a world leader, but it's neither here nor there. He's like, yeah, I heard about this guy, and I heard that he's the most important guy in the U.S. And Trump, like, this is like, no, serious. Like, I watched 10 hours of this, and like the Trump interview was like one of the hardest because I'll be honest, it showed me how little he knows about AI, but he's willing to trust the experts on it, which is
Hmm.
surprising, which goes against everything that like he he's willing to trust the experts because listening to him it was very basic. But Nvidia has like an 85% share on the semiconductor market,
Hmm.
which gives them a huge advantage over anybody. So I'm still bullish on Nvidia.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna continue to buy Nvidia no matter what. like, like especially over these next 5 years, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not letting up. TSM too, ASML if you can afford them. Plenty other companies too, not just them. And Intel just done a deal with the government. Supposedly,
Hmm.
the government's gonna, similar to MP. What you're gonna start to see is the government start to back companies, which is weird because
Hmm.
you know, not trying to get political, which is weird because like it's supposed to be a free market, and you're seeing American companies with government backing, which isn't fair to other companies. But like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm trying not to go there, but it's just weird. So,
It is. It is very strange, especially for a political party that
hmm
despises
hmm
social, like, social constructs, so this socialism. So
yeah,
but at some point, there's certain areas you need them to move forward, and in
yeah,
order to make the costs of the research and everything affordable, I mean, it's, this time, okay, they're benefiting from the upside, any upside in Intel. um but what's the difference of what they did with like green energy that they were supporting,
yeah.
basically, what do you call it, subsidizing the
Also, too,
expensive areas of research and so forth. So it's not, it's different because now they actually have a vested interest
thank
in a
Bellots.
publicly traded company, instead of just giving, kind of credit, tax credits, like they did with energy companies. But we'll see. We'll see how Intel actually performs, because now they have to do government projects which the government needs, which
hmm
might not necessarily be the most profitable. So I don't know how they'll balance shareholder,
hmm
like their shareholder obligations and or obligations to their shareholders while performing for the government, because the government's going to need them to do things that aren't necessarily profitable for them. So I don't know if actually this is good for
hmm
Intel's stock price or not.
I I still think Intel is way behind. I think that the gap is too far for them to ever catch up to Nvidia. But where they might have an advantage is with the government backing them. But it's companies like
Mhm.
Broadcom. I like them. AVGO, write that down. That's
I
another
love
one I talked to.
AVGO.
Yeah, AVGO. They have an advantage. Also, too, another company people don't talk about is, and this is one I was very early. ARM. ARM
Hmm.
technology. Okay, think of ARM as the blueprint to semiconductor chips. So they don't make chips, not yet. I've heard rumors that they are going to be making chips, but ARM pretty much designs the blueprint. So think of it this way. This is how I always explain it. You have a house, right? Okay, you
Hmm.
got the builders, right? ARM just makes the blueprint for the house. They don't
Yep.
make the house. They give you the blueprint. They sell somebody the blueprint, and then the builders go and build the house. So
Hmm.
they have the IP, the intellectual, property, on
Hmm.
on the blueprint. So they sell their technology everywhere. And I want to say ARM is France based. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I know they're not U.S. based. Definitely not U.S. or based. So yeah, it's a lot of moving parts with Trump's administration, and I kind of like it, to be honest. Like,
I see that. No, I mean, I think the reality is that,
hmm
we're in a very um, dynamic time, and whoever the
yeah,
leader was, this was going to be a very pivotal
hmm
pivotal time in the stock market, and a very pivotal time in
hmm
just, where the US stands in relationship to these different aspects of technology and just staying on top, staying ahead, or getting ahead in
All right.
areas where we'd fallen behind. So I think whoever the leader would have been, this would have been a very critical time for people to really start getting on board and thinking about, what they want for their own future and for the future of their kids. Because the reality is that not all of us are going to be AI experts
Yeah.
or robotic engineers or whatever, but there's just the key reality that this is an opportunity to make life-changing decisions in your
Yeah.
investments for your lineage, for your kids, for your grandkids. And there's like a lot of these companies are still at really early stages in their development
Yeah.
because
Yes.
because of the fact that AI, I was listening to an interview with Jem Carson, and he was talking about
Hmm.
how AI is a bubble. And it's like, okay, even after, the dot-com bubble,
Yeah.
there were companies that use that
Yeah.
shifting in the economics to move forward. Now, I'm not saying I agree that
Yeah.
it's a bubble or that it's not a bubble or that we're in the very
I got
early
something on
stages
that.
of
I'm
a
glad you
bubble.
brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. I'll hit on that one
Mhm.
once you're done. Keep going. Keep going.
No, no, so, I think that there are a lot of companies that just, they haven't, they're still in their inception. So whether
Yeah.
this is a bubble or not, they still have a very long road to run in their own space. And those companies are at really great prices.
Uh,
Even like half of the companies we talked about are,
yeah.
in the last year, they have been at
Mhm.
really, really cheap prices. You could have easily scaled in and can continue
You
to
could
scale
dollar
it
cost
because
average too. That's the thing. You
yeah.
could dollar cost average. I tell people this: if you can't figure out what the high or low is, and I'll tell you, the tariff in April was a huge opportunity. I know you know that. Like most of my stock club members are doing well from it. We were buying what UNH at that time, United Health,
Mhm.
uh, and actually uh, a lot of Nvidia options and stock positions. I got people up like I got a guy that's up like 23,000% on Palantir,
Yeah.
and what $800 at like 20,000. So like we're gonna see life changing money. Yeah, and I
Mhm.
did say $800 to 30,000, which is crazy. That's not the norm, but I'm just saying we're gonna see life changing money over the next I would say the next 5 to 6 years. You're gonna see the best years of AI over the next 5 years. We're in the first inning.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's everybody says that. Dan Ives and all the research over the last 4 years
Mhm.
says it. Anything that's moving is going to be autonomous. Autonomous.
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
seen that. I was just in Atlanta at Invest Fest, and I seen a lot of Waymo cars. I seen at least 10
Mhm.
Waymo vehicles just passing by. Well, for those of you not familiar, Waymo is the autonomous vehicle. It was crazy seeing it like next to you. I'm in an Uber, like wait, no driver, just people in the back. But Waymo
Mhm.
technology is actually Google too. So yeah, Google.
Mhm.
I'm very bullish on Google. I feel like
Mhm.
Google's just been sitting with this Department of Justice hanging over their head. To go back to what you were saying, to piggyback on it, Suze, with the
Mhm.
AI bubble, I do feel like an AI bubble is going to come, and it may wipe out what's going to happen. It'll be similar in history to the internet bubble. It's going to wipe out the companies that really aren't AI, that
Mhm.
don't have a use case, that don't provide any value, and that's okay.
It's
But what it's
good,
gonna do,
actually.
what it's gonna do, it's gonna
Mhm.
solidify the companies that actually do matter, like Nvidia,
Mhm.
like ASML, like TSM,
Mhm.
like Broadcom, ARM, and all these other companies, and some of these, even Palo Alto and Fortinet, CrowdStrike, and all these cybersecurity companies. It's gonna solidify. It's gonna separate the boys from the men, as we call it. It's going to separate them. So I'm
Yeah.
all for it. I'm all for an AI bubble. I do believe one's going to come because I just seen a report out that said that 95% of companies aren't making any money off of AI, even though they're
Mhm.
investing in it. And I do believe that to be true. I believe companies like
Mhm.
Microsoft. obviously with OpenAI and ChatGPT are making a profit from it.
Mhm.
It's made my work a lot easier. I'm sure it's made yours too easier with these large language models. But it's some
Mhm.
companies that are just like trying to profit from AI, and they're not really AI companies. They're like
Yeah.
they got doodle companies. Where okay, we'll make a picture of you, and
Yeah.
that's it.
I mean, the reality is that everybody's going to try to adapt and find their
Hmm.
space. And some may come up with creative ways
Hmm.
of
Yeah,
really being able to lean into this new
right,
energy or this new generation. But yeah, not all of them are going to do it, and not all of them are going to do it well. And
right.
those companies eventually, you need the leaders of the pack to be able to
Hmm.
pull forward. And yeah, like you said, not all bubbles coming to an end are bad. The thing is though is that I think that a lot of people feel like there's a lot of froth in the system because of
Yeah.
the fact that like we had these two extremely bullish years. But I think right now that you're seeing companies that had no kind of backing all of a
Hmm.
sudden now doing well. And that can't be considered froth because it's not like, okay, maybe Palantir has run a lot, but
Hmm.
you have other good, normal companies like, in the
Hmm.
nuclear space like Oklo or Okta
Yeah.
or
Oh, cool. Yep.
SMR. They're not ridiculously expensive and they haven't had massive runs. They have moved up because of what's going on generally, but I don't think that you could say that those companies are at frothy prices. So
Right.
I do find it difficult to say that we're in a bubble. I think that some
Now.
areas of the market have run really
Yeah.
hot. So we are going to see rotation. But as long as there continues to be healthy rotation in the process, then I don't think that you need to have like this massive, like, I mean, and come on, we just had a 20% drop in the market in
Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
if
was just
people were
getting.
going to die, I mean, if companies were going to die, that was a really
I was just
opportune
getting to that,
moment for those
Suze.
companies to roll over.
I was just getting to that, and I know you brought that up too. You wanted to talk a little bit about, where do I see the stock market going? I believe that April pullback of over 20%, I believe it was a blessing in disguise. And the reason I say that, it threw off the cycle of the calendar. Normally, like
Mm-hmm.
August is a little, you know, bearish. September definitely can be bearish because of
Mm-hmm.
the what do we have? QQW quad witching and what
Mm-hmm.
third
Yep.
Friday in September every year.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we have? People aren't thinking about it. We have what? Fed rate cuts. That's an ace in the pocket. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we have? We also have the China Canada deals. I'm not saying it'll get done. I'm just saying it's there. Okay. If
Mm-hmm.
Trump comes out with news that says that we're back in the fold and the tariffs are off with China, what do you think that would do to that the stock market? It would send the S&P 500 probably closer to like 6,700, maybe
Mm-hmm.
even 7,000. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, have news. So that's still there. So rate
Mm-hmm.
cuts, we still got those. That's ace in Trump's pocket. And then we have the China deal. And that's not including anything else we got going too, So
Mm-hmm.
so I'm uh I'm uh, I'm I'm not necessarily sold that September's going to be entirely negative. I think the
Yeah.
market's priced in any bad, and I feel like April was a pullback, that we got. So
Mm-hmm.
that's as soon as that happened, and we were negative 20% or more. I said to myself, I said, this is going to throw the cycle all off. This
Mm-hmm.
calendar's all like this is going to be an unusual year, and that's happened before.
Yeah.
We've seen it during 2020. Look at
Mm-hmm.
2020. 2020 was a weird year.
Yeah. I
So.
think the reality is that seasonality is changing because
Hmm.
a lot of what caused seasonal factors had to do with
Hmm.
the seasons. But
Hmm.
now that that technology and AI have moved and robotics
Hmm.
have all just moved us so
Hmm.
far forward with productivity. I
Yeah.
mean, we're
Yeah.
not concerned about the same seasonal
Hmm.
factors like, you go to the grocery store, you can usually find whatever things you
Right.
want any time of year because
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, in wintertime, I'm not only eating pumpkin, but Like we, it's like there things are accessible now that they just had never been accessible before. The capacity to travel in
Hmm.
winter, that was something that like 30, 40 years ago people were not really doing. It was very difficult to endure those winter months. And it's, those
Hmm.
supply chains always have ripple effects into the rest of, into the rest of the season. So I think there are a lot of aspects of seasonality that
Hmm.
are shifting because of the
Hmm.
fact that we're not as impacted by those realities um, as much anymore, and we're starting to maybe see that a bit. Maybe the business
Deglobalization.
cycle isn't even the business
Yeah.
cycle might not be as impacted, but
Right.
other seasonality factors would be. Rate cuts. So are you asking if there will be rate cuts or if the rate cuts will be positive for the market, Sasha? Well,
Yeah.
we can
See,
answer
Sasha.
both. I do think that we are going to have rate
Yeah.
cuts.
How
And
many
the
do you think
question
we're gonna
really is
have?
how many rate cuts we're going to get and if it's 25 or 50 basis points.
Oh,
I
it'll
think
be
every
25. It'll be 25.
unless
I
something really bad, but
unless something bad comes, it'll be
uh,
25. 25. If you look through history, nah, trust me, I study a lot of monetary policy. I went back real far, from let's way back, like even before Volcker, Paul Volcker, okay, in the 70s. It'll be 25. And the reason I say
mhm,
that, because unless something drastic comes, and I don't think I feel like Jerome Powell survived Trump enough, and he's not going to give in to what Trump wants. Trump wants a 50 point basis
mhm,
cut. You rarely ever see it. The last time we had a 50 point cut was I just looked at it not too long ago. I think it was 2022 when we had the recession, and then we seen a 100 point cut. That was during the no, I'm sorry, we had a 50 point increase 2022
mhm.
because we had recession. The last time we seen a rate cut of 100 points was COVID, and that was
Yep.
like boom. That was in March 2020.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay,
So
so
I think it'll also be
yeah,
25 and 25. I think
25, 25,
um
25,
I, I
50.
think the reality is that inflation is still a question mark for the
Yeah.
Fed. And so, they do want to um, they think that they're nominally restrictive with their rates, so they can cut with that perspective, but they
Hmm.
can't cut massively. They're really like they are towing now a very delicate line in the rhetoric. So they do have to be cautious about doing too much too fast because
Right.
they will freak out the market,
I was
and you
gonna say that
don't want
that,
to.
that yeah.
And
Perception
Jackson
is
Hole
everything.
already created so much bond volatility. Bond rates collapsed so fast just when he said
See
good
that?
afternoon. So, I think that there's a lot going on. The
Hmm.
reality though is that long duration bonds, the 30-year bond, isn't shifting. And that's
Hmm.
where actually they really want the
Hmm.
long end of the
Yeah.
bond yields to come down, not just the short end to come down, because
Hmm.
they want people to be buying those
Yeah.
longer
Yeah.
duration bonds at
Yeah.
a much lower rate. And
Yeah.
if they can't, then it means they have to be doing consistent auctioning, which they don't want to do because then that creates
No.
a lot of uneven liquidity. So we'll see. The Fed funds rate is usually in line with the 10-year. So,
Yeah.
but it's the 30 years that
Uh-huh.
bond yield that
Right.
they need to get that
Yeah.
back
They
end
need to get that
down.
back. Yeah.
So we'll see, but I don't think they'll do 50 because if they do 50 cut, they're gonna freak out the
It's
market
a
because people
perception.
will be like,
Perception is everything. Perception is everything. Like when you do a 50 point basis cut, that signals to the market that things are worse off than they really are. And the last time we done like when we done a 100 point cut, that was
mhm,
COVID, and that sent a
yeah.
massive sell off. Okay, like you 25 is 25 is like okay, business as usual. When you start to see 50, 75, you start to see 100 point cuts. Yeah,
Mhm.
that signals to, and I just don't think Jerome Powell. Now I got to give it to him because he stood his ground against Trump. I'm actually
Mhm.
surprised because I think one time early on in his career when he was nominated Fed chair,
Mhm.
Trump did kind of pressure him to cut, and
Mhm.
you know, it was weird because he like cut, then he like hiked it back up, and you could. So I was a little shocked, and you could tell he was peeved, especially in that
Mhm.
interview when they were like looking at what they
The
were doing
cost
some
of the
remod.
building
Yeah,
renovations.
and Jay Powell just took the paper from Trump without even like saying, "Hey, you know, can I get that?" He just took it from him. He's like, "What are you talking about? This was already built in from the last time. That's already paid for. What are you talking?" And Trump's like, "Oh." So you could tell, and then they're
Trump
going
knows,
after
but
this.
he likes to
Yeah,
wind
yeah.
him up. I
I
didn't
know.
realize, I have to say, in that interview, I did not realize how tall Trump is because Jerome Powell is not a short man. And
I
I
think
mean,
Jerome
their
Powell
height
though is like,
difference was
yeah,
really, I was like,
yeah.
man,
I
that
know.
is, Trump
They,
just looks like he was just such a dominating presence.
Jerome Powell wasn't playing that though. Hey, Powell looked at him like, "What are you talking about?" He he took that paper, he snatched it from him almost, and looked at it. He's like, so that was funny to me. But I like Powell, but I do agree with Trump. Politics aside, I do agree with Trump. They should have been started cutting. And Jerome Powell historically has been late. I agree. He should have been he's been late several occasions where I'm like, dude, you should have been started cutting. Like I think right after COVID and we got the prices back down and inflation was down, I do feel like Jerome Powell should have started cutting early. Okay, he
Mhm.
has been late historically. Has he done a pretty good job? I'd probably say he's number two as far as like Fed chairman's all
Mhm.
time. And the only reason I say it because he's dealt with a lot. Russia, Ukraine. He's dealt with COVID. He's dealt with recessions, all, multiple, and dealing with Trump. Trump is a whole nother animal in itself. So I
Yeah.
feel like,
I like that. Powell is gangsta. Yeah, he really is.
yeah,
I I have to say, I think Powell is such a gentleman.
mhm,
Like he just
yeah, he's
he
professional.
yeah. And for
He
me,
could,
I actually I don't disagree with the fact that they haven't done rate cuts. I mean,
hmm
as many rate cuts, only
hmm
because I think that um, I think that Powell was probably hoping also that by keeping rates high, that it would kind of maybe keep the budget a little bit at a
right.
reasonable point, just because they would have to
hmm
consider take that into
hmm
consideration, how much they were spending and what the interest on borrowing that
hmm
money would be. But the reality is that, you know, Trump just assumes that he's going to get what he wants. And if he's not going to get it now, he's definitely going to get it next year
Yeah, he
when
is.
they get some changes in the
Yeah,
voting members, especially now if they get Lisa Cook out.
Lisa
So and
Cookout. Yeah, I
and
seen that. That's crazy.
so so
Hey,
I think that, they're looking to stack the Fed in their favor. I think
yeah,
that
they
Trump
are.
has basically said that as much that like there's changes in the Fed coming, so we're going to get to where we need to be. And Waller has already committed to basically believing in um and he could potentially be the next
Mhm.
Fed president. So I think all
Yeah.
the people who are bidding for the next Fed chair will be are all quite dovish, and so
Yeah,
we'll
they
see
all
where
are.
rates are in a year and a half. But at least you get two cuts this year and at
I
least
don't
three or
like it.
four next year.
I don't like it at all because I just feel like the Fed needs to stay independent from like everything
Hmm.
government. And you start to get Trump's influence on the central bank, that can be terrible. So I don't know. I know it's coming to that, but I don't like it,
Hmm.
And Trump's just different from any other president we've had. It's been presidents in the past who've had some influence on the Fed chair, but
Hmm.
they didn't, make any cuts. And if you go back through history, Jimmy Carter actually told Paul Volcker, I know this is probably going to kill any hopes of me being, winning the presidency again. Because, for those of you not familiar, Jimmy Carter was president, late 70s.
Hmm.
And he lost his second campaign. and it was because of those rate hikes. We got up to
Hmm.
20% during Paul Volcker's time frame,
Hmm.
and I respect Jimmy Carter at that time because he told him, he said, "I know this is gonna kill any, it's gonna kill the economy,
Hmm.
but it's what's right for the country." I
Hmm.
don't see anybody else who would have done that, and so that's how important Fed policy is to America. You have to be independent from it, and I just don't see somebody like Trump like saying, "Hey,
Hmm.
look, this is gonna hurt me." And even though Trump says he doesn't look at the stock market, he does because it
Hmm.
hit a record.
And even though
I
he
don't know
says
if
he
you see,
won't
he
run for
posted
a
it.
third term, who knows what he'll do?
Yeah, so it's crazy. So
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you so much for giving
hmm
us your time this evening.
yeah,
I will post the link to
hmm
the
okay,
AI report
yeah, thank you.
in my stories.
Yeah,
So anybody that has joined and is interested, you'll see the post, you'll see the
right.
link.
Yeah,
And if you're part of his stock club, then you have access in the
yeah, you have access
collections.
to it for free. Yep.
And if for anybody that is thinking about joining Derek's Patreon or
hmm
his stock club, you can, if you're following him, his link is
hmm
there on his
hmm
Instagram page. And if you're not following both of us, you totally should.
Yeah, you should.
Thank you, Sasha.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, Derek and I, we trade
yeah,
differently.
yeah,
Derek is
yeah.
more of
That's
a
what I
swing
like.
trader,
Yeah. Mhm.
long-term trader,
Yeah,
has
yeah,
high conviction on the
yeah,
fundamentals of different
yeah.
companies. And that's why he does a lot of these documentaries and
hmm
reports, is because, it's like, if I'm
Yeah.
going to invest in a company for the next 10 years, I want to know that
hmm
it has an impact on what's coming. So if you
hmm
like those kinds of reports and you like getting them
hmm
consistently, then really consider joining Derek's Patreon, because he
hmm
does provide a lot of in-depth
Yeah.
data to his
And I've referred some
community.
people to you too. I'm like, hey, look, because I get some people who want to learn like short term phrase, and I'm like, hey, I got the perfect person for you, Susan, Cynthia. I'm like, hey, these two right here. I don't have the time that I used to anymore. It's kind of like it's a lot, and I respect you guys for doing it because I'm like, ooh, it's a lot. I don't care what
It
anybody says. It's
it
a
is.
lot. That's why,
It's a
yeah,
you takes it takes a lot of time
yeah,
if you want to build.
yeah.
But I know that for families that are
Yeah.
trying to get that
hmm
extra income, that
Right.
they
I get
need
it.
it. So
Yeah. They
we
need it right
try.
now. Yeah.
We try our best. All
Somebody
right,
said great
friends.
Sunday
I
start
hope you
session.
guys have a great
All right.
Sunday evening, and oh, enjoy your Labor Day for those in
Yeah.
the US. And Trade Speakeasy, we are doing a Labor Day sale for those that haven't seen.
hmm
So a lot of people know about our Discord, but we actually do have a series of e-courses that run through every single one of our strategies, everything from the individual legs, long calls, long puts, all the way through the multi-leg option strategies, up until even talking about things like ratio spreads, how to trade opposing pairs, and then like really complex strategies like short butterflies and laddering strategies. But you get like the whole gambit, everything from credit spreads to all the different kinds of butterflies. And a lot of people in my Discord, they always go back to those e-courses as like reference when they're like, wait a minute, what is it? Let me go back and like watch the video again. So for people that don't have time to do like live classes and want, the
That's
opportunity to be
dope.
able to watch when they can, then those e-courses, and we've bundled those together. And then you also get a free month in the Discord. So that then gives you an opportunity to ask all of your questions to me or to inside our community. And that is for the Labor Day weekend. That is $500. So if
Dang,
you
that's
are,
cheap. That's
yeah.
good.
So if
Cheap.
if you're a study on
That's
your
good.
own kind of person,
Yeah.
that may be the
Yeah. I
way to
might need it.
go.
Yeah. I'll when you post that link, I'll let some of my stock club members know too. Because like I said, some I just don't have the time. So a lot of times I've been referring them to you and Cynthia. Like here, have at it.
Yeah, we appreciate all the
Yeah.
all the support in the
Right.
community. And
Yeah.
hopefully those who are watching from my community will also consider going and checking out
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
Patreon.
Mhm.
All
Yeah. I've
right,
already had
friends.
some. Yep. Yep. So
Oh, that's nice. I'm
yeah.
glad.
Yeah.
Yes, and River Flows also mentioned that, so I'll make sure that she gets the link as well. But everybody should get it on the stories.
Hmm.
Again, thank you, Derek. It's always a pleasure having you
Yeah. Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Anytime. Anytime. I got you. Yep. Anytime. If somebody, you need me, I always got you. Okay.
Thanks.
Always got you.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
appreciate, but so does the community. They benefit from the
Yeah.
back and forth
Hmm.
conversation that we have.
Yeah.
So, all right, friends, we will see you next Sunday. Have a great evening and a great Labor Day. Thanks again, Derek.
Yep. Bye.